To you.
Thank you, Senna, for having me. I
Mm.
hope you are good.
I am well. Doc, I hope you're well too.
I'm good. I'm good.
Mm. Recently, I've seen you on many cocoa farms trying to explain to farmers. I don't know whether you're trying to counter what the MPP was doing. Was that the intention? Countering what the MPP was doing?
Well, uh, first of all, cocoa farmers deserve better, and they deserve leadership of honesty, of truth, and of fairness. And so it was important that when there is a global cocoa price slump, which obviously will lead to some form of crisis for cocoa farmers, was important that in line with His Excellency's vision and mission and purpose to be fair and true to the cocoa farmer, we go to the cocoa farmer and explain issues to them and try to carry them along on this journey to totally overhaul and reform the cocoa sector. So that was what led to me going to the field. But having said that, it was also important to expose our friends who are in opposition, who are embarking on this dangerous adventure of misleading cocoa farmers to believe that the government is the one that is deliberately shortchanging them and not giving them what they are due, especially when they did worse in terms of shortchanging the farmers, and never in the history of this country's cocoa that the cocoa farmer has been shortchanged like under the Boamah Otokunor government. In fact, the what was meant to be given to cocoa farmers was taken away from them, and even margins and allowances that international cocoa markets adds to the value for cocoa farmers was denied them. And so it was important to go and explain issues, and most importantly, to expose the total deception and the reckless adventure to mislead cocoa farmers to, among other things, some of them feel like leaving the cocoa sector.
Hmm. I see. And are you done trying most of the areas?
Well, I toured almost all cocoa growing regions, and in every region we did a number of communities, and we listened to the farmers most importantly. They gave their opinion and suggestions. We also explained government position, which was heavily welcomed by almost everybody we engaged. And they would confess and testify that they didn't understand that this was the case. They thought that it was just government's deliberate ploy to deny them what is due them, and that they didn't know that this was a genuine commitment that government is making to save the sector. Because in actual fact, as we speak, from the last season till we announced the new price, government has lost over $2 billion in the process. And even from the time we announced the last price till now, government is still losing. And averagely, if you do an estimation of about 70,000 metric tons of cocoa that is left to be bought, and we are buying that at 2,587, which means that a ton we are averagely pegging the price at 4,200. Now the price of cocoa is around 2,900, 2,800. That means that we have lost about $1,300 per ton. So if you multiply 1,300 by 70,000, you can see how much dollars we are even going to lose, and government will have to show that this week from the farmers. And so the farmers have come to appreciate the realities of their sector, and the fact that President Mahama is putting measures and reforms in place to make the sector more profitable and more successful for them. Because again, Ghana is one of the biggest producers of cocoa, and we should by now be controlling what happens on the international market. But until now, until President Mahama, there has not been any concrete effort to work towards controlling what happens on the market. And they believe that the decision to process 50% of our total production would significantly bring some control or some dynamics or some changes in the market performance. And so they are hopeful that very soon the prices will go up. And with the kind of commitment that the president has shown by paying them 70% of the FOB price and even moving it a notch higher in the recent price window, paying 90% of the FOB price, has given them that kind of confidence in the president's approach, that this is a president who is a man of his word, is a president that can be trusted. And for that matter, when he makes promises, he fulfills them. And we also reminded them, the president's announcement 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, that he's going to legislate the cocoa pricing, such that no future government or future Akufo-Addo Bawumia government or such reckless governments that may come in future may decide to give them less than 30%, as the case had been in the past 8 years. And so this has inspired hope among the cocoa farmers. And you could see some of the responses and some of the videos and the commentaries that they made, which clearly is going viral on social media. And this is a cocoa farmer. These are cocoa farmers that are discerning, that cannot be misled by any group of miscreants who feel that the Ghanaians have short memory and they could just forget the mess they created at Cocoa Board and the kind of challenges they have brought bedeviling Cocoa Board, which is also contributing to our inability to show off the entire effect of the price slump.
But did they express concerns about the price coming down?
They certainly who will express concern about his revenues coming down. Everybody will express concerns about revenues coming down. But we also took turns to explain that even though it is inevitable, there's respite in the fact that now prices are lower, and so your cost of production would be lower. And for that matter, you either maintain your profitability or even increase your profitability, even though the value has come down.
Now, as we speak, the prices, in fact, I'm looking at ifcmarkets.com, and the minimum price, $3,034, I'm guessing, is it per ton? $3,047 is the maximum price you get for cocoa on the market.
Yeah, so that's good news.
Okay. Does that
is good news, because after the last week or even early Monday, it was around 2,800, 2,900. But as I have said, the decision that the government has taken will change the total, the entire cocoa, market on the international cocoa exchange. Because imagine that over 400,000 tons of your biggest producer or one of your biggest producer is not going to the international market. The market will respond, and they will respond positively, because then there's going to be demand shortage, excess demand and supply shortage on the exchange. And you know what the pricing dynamics are. The pricing dynamics are factors of demand and supply. And so this decision, we believe, will change the pricing. And when it changes the pricing and the pricing starts going up, it is the cocoa farmer who will benefit.
I see. Are we in a position where we'll say we are suffering losses? Because if you set a price and the price keeps falling, it means that then you have to do ultimately what you said you were not going to do initially. You have to find a way of subsidizing for the cocoa farmer, or then announce new prices. What's the situation with the prices that were announced?
In actual fact, the pricing that has been given to the cocoa farmers the past 2 weeks has been more than 90%. Remember, the pricing was pegged at $4,200, but it has since come down. So when you do the estimations very well, you realize that at certain points in time, if you are using that data to do the analysis, you realize that you are even paying over 100% to the farm. But these are shocks that government can absorb. And again, as I said, the price has just jumped up a little bit from 2,900 back to 3,000. And it will continue if all things remain equal in terms of their strategies on the market. But bear in mind that this is the light season, and it's a light season for almost all cocoa growing markets. And so if the major season has suffered price lag and it has entered into the minor season, you would realize that production shortages would influence pricing again, and prices will pick up. So we are optimistic that the prices will pick up. But what is good and what is gratifying for the cocoa farmer is that for the first time they have a government that is responsive to their interest, such that he's ready to pay over 70% of the FOB price to them. And that alone is gratifying for the cocoa farmer.
Was Cocoa Boss supposed to have a stabilization fund for moments like this?
Indeed. We used to have a stabilization fund set up by the Boamah administration, and our friends who are on the fringes right now engaging in this hypocritical adventure collapsed that stabilization fund.
Collapsed?
Only God knows what they used it for.
Collapsed?
That fund, spent the money in there, and still managed to leave a debt of about 32.9 billion for this government to take care of. And I think that was not enough. The entire management processes of Cocoa Board was flouted with criminal maladministration of the limited fund of Cocoa Board. And that is one thing that the farmers had raised very, strong concerns about, because they don't understand why the past 1 year, this open glaring criminal activities of the MPP government have not seen any elements of justice. And so you would see that most of the farmers, even though they have agreed and they are inspired and they have hope that it will get better, they have also encouraged our government to make sure that individuals involved in this criminal activity are brought to book. And I'm sure if we have been able to bring them to book, they wouldn't go around on this unholy adventure of misleading the cocoa farm.
I see. Collapse a stabilization fund when prices went as high as over $10,000.
Yes, they couldn't. In fact, when the price went as high as 10,000, they were locking the country into forward sales of 2,600. Such a criminal, dangerous decision. I don't know who advised them to make that decision. When spot price was $10,000 and it had stayed so for over a year to 2 years, and you were locking in 2 years contract of $2,600. I don't know what motivation caused them to do that, but I wouldn't be surprised that they were motivated by some kickbacks.
But it says government has a decision to make, because I was reading a story yesterday about how Ecuador was trying to ramp up their production on the market, and the suggestions that next year they were going to have surpluses in terms of production as against supply as against demand. Is that also attracting your attention? How you balance supply on the market to ensure that the prices are still at least appreciable?
Okay, so one fundamental fact of the cocoa market is that the entire cocoa market is valued at some $1.2 billion US. And I shared that with you the other time. And surprisingly, Ghana and Ivory Coast produces 65% of that. And so by simple mathematics, we should be making some over 80 billion to 90 billion of that entire market. But because we only export the beans, we do not make higher values from that. And so the decision by government to process the beans here now positions Ghana in the market as a giant if we are able to do that production. That means that if we supplying just beyond beans, we'll be able to tap into the market beyond beans. And that means that you'll be able to diversify your sources of revenue on markets across the value chain. So it is not only beans value chain that you are making your money from. So you can make money from the other value chains as well. And so that is the strategy that government is using. But I can assure you that the global market demand for cocoa cannot be, as it were, such that you have oversupply and that people are demanding less. Cocoa is a commodity that is demanded globally. It has a huge market, and that's why it's worth $2 billion. And so we may never be able to produce enough of cocoa, especially in the face of this European decision that they have taken, that they are not going to buy cocoa from any country that destroys forests to produce new cocoa. You understand? So those are things that obviously are going to restrict the production of cocoa onto the market, and that alone has implications on pricing moving forward. And so there will not be any instance or any time where global supply will outstrip demand such that there will be surpluses and it will control the price coming down. As much as possible, there will be balance because, again, global warming and climate is affecting the productivity of cocoa farms across the world, from Brazil to Ivory Coast to every country that produces cocoa. And you know that the global climate change is not a thing for Ghana, and so it affects everybody's yield. And so the yield will continue to go down. Farmers and scientists would find a way to be productive and increase productivity with the current challenges that we are having. But I don't foresee that supply will ever outstrip demand on the international market.
Doc, thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor is Director of Presidential Initiatives in Agriculture and Agribusiness, Office of the President, joining us on the line. We have to conclude.